welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a story that's honestly pretty surprising. It's about Manscaped.
Right, the men's grooming brand.
Yeah.
Specifically, below-the-belt grooming.
Exactly. That San Diego company. And you think about it, it's a topic most people, well, maybe they think about it, but don't really talk about openly, you know?
Definitely not dinner table conversation, usually.
No.
Yeah.
But they took this, like, personal mishap, someone's own awkward moment, and potentially spun it towards a billion-dollar valuation. It's quite the ride.
It really is. So we're going to unpack how they found this this gap, this ignored corner of the market.
Yeah, and how they used, frankly, a lot of humor and some smart innovation to build this huge brand basically out of nowhere.
It's a fascinating case study in branding and, well, tackling taboos.
Well, let's start at the beginning. The whole thing kicked off, apparently, back in 2016.
That's right, with a guy named Paul Tran. And the story goes, he had, let's just say, less than ideal experience trying to groom down there with a regular razor.
Ouch. Yeah, I think many can imagine that. But Tran, he wasn't exactly new to starting things, was he?
No, not at all. Apparently he was doing raffles in elementary school, like
Yeah.
showing that entrepreneurial spark early on. And before Manscaped, he ran a company called IDK, focused on collaborative product creation. So he knew a thing or two about branding, consumer engagement.
Right, so this wasn't just him being a hoid. He saw something bigger.
Exactly. He looked around and saw, tons of specialized grooming stuff for women, entire aisles in stores, but for men,
Yes.
especially for that area. It was basically generic razors or nothing specific.
A real blind spot.
A huge one. And that's what sparked the idea. He founded Manscaped in San Diego 2016. The mission wasn't just selling trimmers. It was like to own the whole conversation around men's below-the-waist grooming.
To make it normal.
To normalize it, yeah. And when you look at the men's grooming market back then, 2016, it was already massive, right? Like $70 billion globally. Huge.
Yeah.
But dominated by, face stuff. Razors, shaving cream, cologne. The below-the-belt area was just kind of ignored. The Wild West, as some described.
The Wild West. I like that. And men were clearly doing something, even if brands weren't catering to them.
Oh, absolutely. There was this men's health poll in 2017, which is pretty telling. It found 73% of men were grooming their pubic hair regularly.
73%.
Wow. And compare that to, 2008, when it was only 6%. That's a massive jump.
So the demand was there, building up, but the products weren't keeping pace.
Precisely. People were using beard trimmers, head clippers, maybe even borrowing their partner's stuff. Not ideal.
Definitely not ideal.
Yeah.
So Manscaped's vision was basically create proper tools for the job.
Yes. Premium, purpose-built tools, things designed specifically for the groin area. And importantly, wrap it all in this cheeky, empowering brand. Make it okay, even cool.
And their first big product really hit that mark, the Lawn Mower.
The Lawn Mower, yeah. Classic name. And it wasn't just a rebadged beard trimmer. They thought about the specifics.
Like the skin-safe attack. That sounds important.
Crucial. Reduces nicks and cuts. Plus, making it waterproof so you can use it in the shower. Little things like a powerful motor, 7,000 RPM, I think, and even an LED light.
The light, yeah, because visibility can be tricky down there.
Exactly. They thought about the actual user experience, and it wasn't just the trimmer. They built out a whole system.
Right, the crop preserver.
Which is like an anti-chafing deodorant.
Yeah, the crop reviver.
A toner spray. And the crop cleanser, body wash. It was a full routine, a lifestyle almost.
Taking an area that was an afterthought and making it, well, a thought. But the branding, that's where they really leaned in, didn't they?
Oh, completely. They basically took the term manscaping and made it theirs. I mean, it even got added to the dictionary, influenced by them. That's serious brand impact.
Incredible. And the humor was just dialed up to 11.
Absolutely central to the strategy. They didn't try to be clinical or serious about it. They just embraced the inherent awkwardness with this, like knowing wink.
The product names alone. Lawn Mower, the plow.
Crop preserver, crop reviver. They're playful, memorable.
And the slogans, your balls will thank you. You don't forget that.
Or trim the bush, make the tree look taller. It's direct, it's funny, it cuts through the noise.
Yeah, it disarms you immediately. And their ads, especially the video ads, they just ran with that.
Totally. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Short, snappy, full of personality. Not your typical boring product demo.
I remember seeing that one with Charlie Partridge in the snooker hole.
Oh, yeah, the cue balls. Such a brilliant, slightly absurd metaphor.
Smooth balls win at snooker and in life. It's just so out there, it sticks.
It does. And then getting Pete Davidson involved later on.
Right, in 2022, that felt like a perfect fit.
It really did. His whole vibe, that kind of laid-back, self-deprecating humor, just lounging in a bathrobe, it felt authentic. He wasn't just reading lines.
And making him an ambassador and a shareholder, that shows real commitment.
Definitely. Their social media presence blew up too, right? Like huge following on Instagram.
Yeah, over 600,000 followers by 2023, I think. And the engagement was crazy high.
And it wasn't just likes. The comment sections became this like community space. People joking, sharing tips, almost like social proof built right in.
Which probably helped their organic traffic numbers.
You'd have to think so. Over a quarter of their website traffic being organic by 2023, that suggests people were actively searching for them, for the brand, not just generic terms. That's powerful.
So the humor wasn't just a gimmick, it was smart business.
Absolutely. It lowered the barrier to entry, made it less weird for guys to actually look into these products, and that community aspect probably did wonders for their return on ad spend, engaged people buy.
Okay, let's talk about Shark Tank. That was a pretty big moment for them, wasn't it, back in 2018?
Yeah, Steve and Josh King went on, looking for $500,000 for 7% of the company.
And they had some traction already.
Oh, yeah. They mentioned doing $1.7 million the year before, and we're already at $2.8 million year to date in 2018. Plus, they talked about their ads getting like 48 million views. Yeah. Viral stuff.
So the sharks must have been interested.
They were definitely intrigued, maybe a bit amused too. Some passed, but Mark Cuban and Lori Greiner saw the potential. They offered the 500Kers, but for 25%.
Ooh, steeper equity.
Yeah.
Did they take it?
They did, on the show. But here's the twist.
It fell through.
Apparently so. Post-show diligence, these things sometimes don't close. Happens quite a bit, actually.
But the exposure, the Shark Tank effect, that must have been huge anyway.
Massive. The episode aired, and boom. Brand awareness went through the roof, sales exploded. Even without the deal closing, by 2021, their revenue hit $285 million.
Wow. $285 million. That's incredible growth. Just goes to show the power of that platform.
Absolutely. It legitimized them in a big way for a huge audience.
And they didn't just stick to selling online, did they? They moved into stores, too.
Right. They shifted towards more of an omni-channel approach. Smart move. By 2023, they were in something like 39 countries.
39, so not just the U.S.
No, places like Australia, Canada, the UK. And you could find them in big retailers. Target, Best Buy, Macy's, Walgreens here. Hair House in Australia, for example.
So getting the products right onto the shelves where people shop.
Exactly. And their international strategy seemed pretty thoughtful. They started mainly in English-speaking markets, where the humor would likely translate better initially.
Makes sense. Did they adapt the campaigns much?
A bit, yeah. Like they kept using those snooker metaphors in the UK and Australia, showing they understood some local context.
But growing that fast? That must bring headaches too, right? Just managing everything.
Oh, for sure. Imagine all the marketing content they were creating. Photos, videos, ads for different platforms, different countries.
A logistical nightmare.
It can become one. Keeping track of all those digital assets, making sure the right teams have the right files. Apparently, it got messy.
So what do they do?
In 2023, they brought in a company called Stacks, which specializes in digital asset management DAM systems, basically software to organize all that content. It's a pretty standard step for a company scaling that quickly. Gotta get organized.
Yeah, makes sense. You need the infrastructure to support the growth.
And speaking of growth, let's talk valuation. There was that big news in 2021.
Ah, yes, the SPAC deal. They announced a merger with Bright Lights Acquisition Corp.
Right, a special purpose acquisition company. And the deal valued Manscaped at a cool $1 billion.
$1 billion. That's unicorn territory.
Exactly. The plan was to go public, raise a bunch of cash. There were some big names involved in the PIPE investment too, Tatum.
Channing Tatum, okay.
Yeah, and institutions like Endeavor, UBS, even Ciara was on the board of the SPAC company. It looked like a done deal.
But the market turned.
Yeah, 2022 wasn't kind to the SPAC market. It cooled off, a lot of deals fell apart, and unfortunately, the Manscaped merger with Bright Lights was one of them. Terminated.
Ouch. So no public listing.
Not then, no, they stayed private. But even despite that setback, the estimates for their value in 2023 were still pretty massive, somewhere between $1 billion and $3 billion, depending on who you asked.
Still huge.
Yeah.
And revenues projected around $500 million annually.
That was the figure floating around. So the underlying business clearly remains strong.
And they kept leveraging those celebrity connections.
Definitely. Channing Tatum's investment was obviously a big endorsement. And the Pete Davidson partnership continued, keeping them culturally relevant.
They did other partnerships too, right? Like with sports teams.
Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers deal was interesting. Putting funny ads in the stadium restrooms, talk about targeted marketing.
Huh. Perfect placement.
Mhm.
And wasn't there that incident with the NFL reporter?
Oh, Ian Rappaport. Yes, he got briefly suspended by NFL Network for tweeting about the Lawn Mower as part of like an ad deal he did personally.
That's wild. Generated a ton of buzz, though, I bet.
Exactly. Even negative-ish publicity like that just spread the brand name further. Shows how notorious they'd become.
But it's not all just edgy humor and business deals, is it? They have a serious side, too.
That's important to mention, yeah. They've partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society basically since the beginning, since 2016.
Okay, so it's been a long-term commitment.
Seems so. They've done fundraising, campaigns to raise awareness. They even did educational content, like a Check Your Balls campaign with Steve-O from Jackass.
Right, getting the message out there.
Yeah, it shows a commitment to men's health that goes beyond just selling grooming products. It adds another layer to the brand.
So if we boil it all down, what are the main takeaways from this Manscaped story? What can we learn?
Well, first off, spotting that overlooked need, right? Seeing a gap nobody else was properly addressing, that's fundamental.
Then, not being afraid to tackle an awkward subject.
Exactly. And using humor to do it. That was their key differentiator, making the taboo approachable.
Building that community, too, seems vital.
Definitely. Through social media, that engaged user base, making people feel part of something. Also being willing to, test things and pivot, like moving into retail after starting DTC.
And resilience, clearly. Bouncing back after the SPAC deal fell through.
Absolutely. Sticking with it. It just shows that even a niche idea, something maybe embarrassing, can become huge if you execute it well.
And they're not stopping, are they? They're looking beyond just the groin area now.
Seems like it. Expanding into beard care, head shaving products, face wash, broadening the definition of Manscaped.
And they've got that partnership with the Natural Selection Tour for 2025. That's like snowboarding, right?
Yeah, moving into more general lifestyle branding, perhaps. It poses some interesting questions for their future.
Like, can they keep the momentum going in these other categories? Will they try to go public again someday?
Time will tell. But what they've achieved so far is pretty remarkable, taking something private and kind of awkward and building a major company around it.
It really is a testament to finding that unmet need, using bold marketing, especially that humor, and just building a really strong brand identity where one didn't exist before.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other slightly awkward, underserved corners of the market are out there? What other embarrassments could actually be billion-dollar ideas just waiting for the right approach?
That's definitely something to think about. Well, thanks for diving deep into the world of Manscaped with us today.
My pleasure. Fascinating story.
Until next time, on The Deep Dive.